There's a certain rhythm to the city at 3 a.m., a hum that seeps through the walls of our little apartment, like a heartbeat that never rests. It's the sound of distant sirens, the murmur of late-night wanderers, and the occasional clatter of a garbage truck making its rounds. I've grown to know it well, sitting here in the dim glow of a single lamp, watching the shadows stretch across the room. My name is Olivia. I'm 33, and for the last 8 years, I've shared this space, this life, with Matthew, my husband, who's just 2 years older than me. We carved out a corner of the world here, in the heart of this sprawling, unforgiving city, in a modest apartment that once felt like our fortress. Now, it's more like a cage. The walls closing in with every passing day, every unpaid bill, every whispered argument that we try to keep from turning into a shout. Matthew is a good man, the kind of good that you don't see often enough. He's always been the one to carry the weight, to shield me from the worst of it. But lately, that weight has become a crushing force, and I can see it in the way he moves, the way he breathes. A few months ago, his business, a small contracting firm he poured his heart into, collapsed under a bad deal, leaving us drowning in debt. Financial ruin isn't just a phrase. It's a living, breathing thing that haunts our every moment. I've lost count of the nights we've spent at our tiny kitchen table, surrounded by a mess of envelopes and notices, the papers scattered like fallen leaves after a storm. The air between us grows heavy with his anxiety, a tangible thing I can almost taste, bitter and sharp. My own desperation simmers beneath the surface, quiet but relentless, because I don't know how to help him. I don't know how to fix this. I watch him sometimes, when he thinks I'm not looking. His hazel eyes, once so bright they could light up a room, now seem dulled, like a painting left too long in the sun. Every morning, I see his hands tremble just a little as he pours his coffee, the mug clinking softly against the counter. It's a small thing, but it breaks my heart every time. This isn't the man I married, the man who used to laugh so easily, who'd spin me around in the middle of this very kitchen just because a song came on the radio. Now there's a shadow over him, a burden I can't lift no matter how much I want to. And then there's the other shadow, the one I can't quite name yet, the presence of several men to whom he owes a debt so large it feels like a mountain we'll never climb. I don't know who they are, not really, or what they want beyond the money. Matthew won't talk about it, and I've learned not to push, but I feel their influence in the way it's a chilly Friday evening, and the rain is tapping against the window like a persistent stranger begging to be let in. I'm curled up on our worn-out couch in the dimly lit living room, a threadbare blanket draped over my legs, the faint smell of dampness clinging to the air. Matthew sits beside me, closer than usual, but there's a distance in the way he holds himself, like he's already somewhere else. The TV flickers in the background, some late-night rerun neither of us is really watching, casting ghostly shadows across his face. His voice, when he finally speaks, is low and hesitant, almost swallowed by the patter of the rain. He tells me he's found a way out, an unconventional way to resolve the debt that's been suffocating us. The words hang between us, heavy and vague, and I feel my chest tighten, a mix of fragile hope and something darker stirring inside me. I watch his fingers fidget with the hem of his faded flannel shirt, a nervous habit I've seen 1,000 times over the years. It's always been his tell, a silent confession of the storm brewing in his mind. His gaze avoids mine, fixed on the flickering screen, as if it holds the answers he can't give me. I shift closer, the couch creaking under my weight, and press him for more. What does he mean by unconventional? What kind of way out? My heart is pounding now, each beat echoing in my ears louder than the rain outside. But he only shakes his head, his jaw tight, and mutters something about a meeting at a private club just outside the city limits. A meeting. That's all he'll say. Then he turns to me, his hazel eyes shadowed and unreadable, and asks me to come with him. He insists my presence is crucial, though he won't, or can't, explain why. His voice cracks just a little on that last word, and it sends a shiver down my spine that has nothing to do with the cold seeping through the walls. I sit there, frozen for a moment, searching his face for something, anything to anchor me. The dark circles under his eyes are deeper than ever, etched into his skin like permanent bruises. He offers me a half smile, forced and brittle, the kind that doesn't reach his eyes. My mind is a battlefield, torn between the instinct to trust him, because I always have, and the growing knot in my stomach that screams something's wrong. I've stood by him through everything, through the late nights and the broken dreams, because I love him, because I believe in us. But this feels different, dangerous even. Still, as I look at him, at the man who's been my rock even when the ground beneath us crumbled, I can't bring myself to say no. Desperation has a way of drowning out doubt, doesn't it? So, with a shaky breath, I nod. I agree to go, even as that knot in my gut twists tighter. As we step through the heavy oak doors of the private club, a wave of warm, smoky air hits me, wrapping around me like a thick, invisible blanket. The interior is a world apart from the gritty, rain-soaked streets we left behind just minutes ago. The room is dimly lit, the kind of darkness that feels intentional, almost intimate, with flickering golden light spilling from ornate sconces on the walls. Heavy velvet curtains, a deep crimson that seems to drink in the light, frame tall windows that reveal nothing of the outside world. The air is thick with the scent of cigar smoke, curling lazily in the atmosphere, mingling with the sharp, heady notes of expensive cologne. It's a smell that speaks of power, of secrets, of things I'm not sure I'm ready to understand. At the center of the room sits a long mahogany table, its polished surface gleaming like dark water under the low light, and around it, a handful of men in tailored dark suits sit in silence, their postures rigid, their faces carved from stone. My eyes are drawn to one man who stands as we enter, his presence commanding the room without effort. He's tall, in his late 40s, with sharp features that could cut glass, high cheekbones, a jawline like a blade, and piercing gray eyes that seem to see right through me. I learn his name is Victor, and there's something about the way he moves, with a predator's grace, that makes my skin prickle. His polished shoes click against the hardwood floor, a deliberate rhythm that echoes in the quiet. And as he approaches me, my heart starts to race, pounding so hard I'm sure everyone can hear it. He stops just inches away, close enough that I can feel the heat radiating from him, and then, with a gesture so casual it's almost unnerving, he reaches out and lightly touches my cheek. His hand is warm, but there's a possessiveness in the touch, a silent claim that sends a shiver down my spine, cold and electric all at once. I don't know whether to pull away or lean in, and that uncertainty terrifies me. I glance over at Matthew, seeking some kind of reassurance, but he's already taken a seat in a leather chair near the wall, his face pale, almost ghostly in the dim light. His hands are clasped tightly in his lap, knuckles white, and when he catches my eye, he mutters under his breath, barely audible over the faint crackle of a nearby fireplace. "You don't need to worry. If everything goes well, the debt will be forgiven." His words are meant to comfort, I think, but they only deepen the unease gnawing at my insides. Forgiven? What does that even mean in a place like this, surrounded by men who look like they've never forgiven a thing in their lives? My mind scrambles for answers, but there's nothing to grasp onto, just a growing sense of dread that I can't shake. 2 other men at the table stand now, their movements slow and deliberate, like hunters sizing up their prey. I hear their names murmured, Marcus and Leon, and though they don't speak, their gazes are heavy, unreadable, pinning me in place. Marcus is broad-shouldered with a scar tracing the edge of his jaw, while Leon is leaner, his dark eyes glinting with something I can't name. They approach me, flanking Victor, and the air seems to thicken, pressing against my chest until it's hard to breathe. My pulse is a wild thing now, hammering in my ears, and I feel trapped in some kind of surreal dance, one I don't know the steps to. What is happening? Why am I here? The questions swirl in my head, but before I can voice them, the truth crashes over me like a tidal wave, cold and suffocating. I see it in the way Victor's lips curve into a faint, knowing smile, in the way Marcus and Leon exchange a glance that speaks volumes without a single word. Matthew, he's agreed to let these men have me for the night, in exchange for erasing his debt. The realization hits me like a physical blow, stealing the air from my lungs. Betrayal burns hot in my chest, a searing pain that threatens to consume me. But as the moments stretch into what feels like an eternity, the room falls silent again. The oppressive weight of their gazes lifts, if only slightly, as Victor steps back, adjusting his tie with a practiced ease. His lips curve into a small, satisfied smile, one that sends a fresh wave of unease through me. It's not a smile of warmth or kindness. It's the smile of a man who's just closed a deal, a transaction that leaves me feeling like a piece of property rather than a person. I stand there, rooted to the spot, my body trembling uncontrollably. My skin feels flushed, hot and prickly, as if it's trying to reject the reality of what's just happened. There's a strange mix of exhaustion and exhilaration coursing through me, an emotion I can't quite name. It's as if I've run a marathon I didn't sign up for, my heart still pounding, my breaths shallow and uneven, but somehow I'm still standing. I turn my head, almost instinctively, to look at Matthew. He hasn't moved from his chair near the wall, his hands gripping the armrests so tightly that his knuckles are stark white against his skin. His face, though, shows something new, a flicker of relief, subtle but there, in the way his brow softens just a fraction. It's a look that both comforts and infuriates me. Relief for what? That it's over? That the debt is no longer a noose around his neck? Or is it relief that I'm still here, still whole, despite what I've just endured? I don't know, and the uncertainty gnaws at me, adding to the storm of emotions already raging inside. My hands move on their own, smoothing down the fabric of my dress, a futile attempt to regain some semblance of composure. The material feels foreign under my fingertips, as if it belongs to someone else, someone who didn't just stand in the center of this room, bartered like a commodity. My mind is racing, a chaotic whirlwind of questions I don't have answers to. What does this mean for us, for Matthew and me? Can we go back to the way things were, pretend this night never happened? Or has this moment carved a permanent divide between us, a chasm too wide to cross? I want to ask him, to demand explanations, but my throat feels tight, the words trapped behind a wall of shock and confusion. Victor's voice cuts through the haze in my mind, sharp and clear, like a blade slicing through fog. The debt is gone. Consider this transaction complete. His words hang in the air, heavy and final, like a judge's gavel striking down a verdict. They echo in my ears, each syllable sinking deeper into my consciousness. The debt is gone. It should feel like freedom, like a weight lifted off my shoulders, off Matthew's. But instead, it feels like a different kind of burden. A transaction. That's what I was to them. To him. I glance at Matthew again, and he nods slowly, almost imperceptibly, as if acknowledging the end of this nightmare. But his eyes still won't meet mine, and that avoidance stings more than I expected. The tension in the room shifts, a subtle but noticeable change, as Marcus and Leon begin to gather their things. Their interest in me seems to have dissipated, their gazes no longer pinning me in place. They move with the casual efficiency of men who've concluded their business, their voices low as they murmur to each other, words I can't catch and don't want to. The air feels lighter, but not cleaner, as if the weight of their presence is lifting but leaving behind a residue I can't shake off. I take a tentative step, then another, my legs unsteady beneath me, like a newborn foal trying to find its footing. I make my way toward Matthew, each step feeling heavier than the last, the hardwood floor creaking softly under my weight. He stands as I approach, finally rising from that chair that seemed to anchor him through this ordeal. He still avoids my eyes, his gaze fixed somewhere over my shoulder, but he places a hand on my lower back, a gentle pressure guiding me toward the door. We don't speak as we leave that suffocating room behind, the heavy oak doors closing with a dull thud that reverberates in my chest. The cool night air hits me like a slap as we step outside, sharp and biting after the oppressive warmth of the club. It's a shock to my system, pulling me back to reality, but it doesn't wash away the weight of what just happened. My legs feel like they might give out, but I keep moving, one foot in front of the other until we reach the car parked under a flickering street lamp. The metal is cold under my fingers as I grip the handle, and I slide into the passenger seat, the familiar smell of worn leather and faint traces of Matthew's cologne grounding me, if only for a moment. The silence between us is deafening as he starts the engine, the low rumble vibrating through the seats. I stare out the window, watching the city unfold in streaks of light and shadow as we pull away from that place. The streetlights flash across Matthew's face in rhythmic bursts, casting sharp angles over his features. I can see the tension in his jaw, the way it clenches tight, like he's holding back a storm of words, or maybe just the weight of his own guilt. His hands grip the steering wheel with a force that turns his knuckles pale, and I wonder if he's trying to anchor himself as much as I am. My own hands fidget in my lap, fingers twisting together, picking at the edge of a cuticle, anything to distract from the chaos in my mind. I want to say something, to break this suffocating quiet, but every word I reach for feels wrong, too heavy or too frail for this moment. So I sit there, trapped in my thoughts, replaying the night over and over, each memory a jagged edge that cuts deeper. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, Matthew speaks. His voice is barely above a whisper, so soft I almost miss it over the hum of the engine. "You saved us tonight." Those words hit me like a wave, crashing over me with a force I wasn't prepared for. There's gratitude in them, raw and real, but there's pain too, a quiet ache that mirrors the storm in my chest. I turn to look at him, my breath catching as I search his face for something, anger, resentment, anything that might tell me how he really feels. But all I find is a weary acceptance in his hazel eyes, a kind of tired surrender that makes my heart twist. He's not looking at me, his gaze fixed on the road ahead, but I can see the weight of the night etched into every line of his face, every shadow that the passing lights reveal. I don't know how to respond at first. Saved us. Did I? I think about what I did, what I endured in that room with Victor and the others, and a strange mix of emotions wells up inside me. There's a swell of pride, unexpected and fierce, blooming in my chest. I did what I had to do, didn't I? I protected our future, kept us from drowning under that mountain of debt that's been suffocating us for months. I made a choice, a sacrifice, and in doing so, I took control in a way I never thought I could. I expected to feel broken after tonight, used and discarded like something worthless, but instead, there's a quiet strength settling into my bones. It's as if I've reclaimed something, a piece of myself I didn't even know I'd lost, through the very act of giving so much away. And the most surprising part? There's no regret. Not for what I did. Not for keeping us afloat when the waters were rising too fast. But that strength doesn't erase the questions, the doubts that linger like a fog in my mind. I glance at Matthew again, watching the way the light dances across his profile, and I wonder what this means for us. The debt may be gone, as Victor so coldly declared. But what about the cost to our relationship? What about the trust that's been fractured? The unspoken words that still hang between us like a guillotine waiting to fall? I feel the ghost. The morning light spills through the kitchen window, a soft golden glow that feels almost too gentle for the weight of last night still pressing on my chest. I'm sitting at our small, scratched-up table, a chipped ceramic mug of coffee in my hands, the steam curling up like tiny ghosts disappearing into the air. The warmth seeps through my fingers, grounding me, but my eyes are fixed on the empty spot where the bills used to stack up like a tower of doom. That corner of the table is bare now, almost unnaturally so, a silent testament to the price we paid to clear that slate. The apartment is quiet, too quiet, the kind of stillness that feels like it's holding its breath. Matthew's already gone for the day, slipped out before I even stirred. There's a note on the counter, scrawled in his familiar, hurried handwriting, saying he had to meet with his accountant to finalize some paperwork. I read it twice, tracing the letters with my fingertip, as if they might reveal more than just the words. But they don't. They're just ink on paper, and the emptiness of this place mirrors the uncertainty gnawing at my heart. I take a sip of the coffee, the bitter taste sharp on my tongue, and let my mind drift back to last night. It's like a film reel playing on loop, every frame etched into my memory with a clarity that's both a blessing and a curse. I can still feel the warmth of Victor's hand on my cheek, that fleeting touch that carried so much unspoken intent, a shiver running through me even now at the thought. I see Matthew's face in the dim light of that club, his hazel eyes avoiding mine, the weight of his gaze heavier than I've ever known it to be. And the surreal thrill of it all, the way my heart raced not just with fear, but with something else, something I'm still afraid to name. It's a tangled mess of emotions, a knot I can't unravel no matter how much I try. I keep waiting for regret to crash over me like a wave, to drown me in shame or anger, but it doesn't come. Instead, there's this complicated mix of empowerment and loss, like I've gained something vital, but left a piece of myself behind in that smoky, suffocating room. I've crossed a threshold, stepped over a line I can't uncross, and I'm not sure what that means for me, for us. I set the mug down, the soft clink against the table sounding louder in the stillness, and wrap my arms around myself, as if that could hold all these fractured thoughts together. The kitchen smells faintly of the toast I burned earlier, a charred reminder of how distracted I am, how my hands tremble just a little when I'm not paying attention. I glance around, taking in the familiar cracks in the plaster, the faded paint on the cabinets, the way the sunlight catches on the worn linoleum floor. This place has been our home, our battleground, our sanctuary, and now it feels different, like it's holding secrets in its walls. I wonder if Matthew feels it too, if he woke up this morning and saw the same ghosts I see in every corner. Did he look at me while I slept, searching for answers in the lines of my face? Or did he turn away, unable to face what we've become? I push back from the table, the chair scraping against the floor with a sound that makes me wince, and wander over to the sink, staring at the few dishes piled there as if they hold some kind of wisdom. My reflection catches in the window above, a pale, tired version of myself staring back, eyes shadowed with questions. I think about how our marriage has always been a partnership, a quiet strength built on late-night talks and shared dreams, even when those dreams started to crumble under the weight of reality. Last night changed something fundamental, reshaped the foundation we stood on. I can feel it in the way my heart beats a little unevenly when I think of Matthew now, in the way I'm not sure if I'm angry or grateful or just numb. Our marriage might never be the same, I realize, and that thought sits heavy in my chest like a stone. I don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.